Yes, the caller is in the house. The calls are coming from the house.
Hello, and welcome to Comic Book Bears Presents The Bear Cave of Terror. I'm your hairy, heavy homo and horror fan host, Steve Morey. Each week, here at the Bear Cave, I invite a horror-loving guest who brings with them one of their favorite scary movies. It can be a classic, gory, trashy, obscure, well-known, or something probably still banned in Britain. In other words, a thrilling work of cinematic terror that we think that you might enjoy. In each episode, we'll dig into the flesh and bone of the film, highlighting our favorite scary moments, as well as stories and details from beyond the screen, all while our guest imparts their deep and possibly concerning love for this week's frightful vision unto you, our dear listener. And with me today in the Bear Cave, I have Mr. Jay Yospa. Jay, welcome to the Bear Cave.
Thank you, Steve. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for asking me.
And Jay, when we were talking about this, and we were talking about like, well, what movie should we talk about when you're on here? There was one that immediately jumped to mind for you. And what movie is that we're going to be talking about today?
That movie is 1974's Black Christmas. This is a I usually try to watch this at least once a year. Preferably around Christmas, but we won't pretend it's Christmas in July. But yeah, one of my favorite slasher movies for sure.
Absolutely. And you know what's interesting, I had never seen this movie before, and I think part of me was in that vein of, it's from the early 70s, it's a non-supernatural slasher movie, it's not really my bag, there's no ghosts or demons or hellish creatures coming back from the dead who are exacting revenge on sorority sisters. I don't want to watch it. And then you suggested it, and I was like, thank God, because I don't know why I have been missing out for so long on this movie. It truly is a Christmas film for the ages.
It sure is.
Well, hey, did we want to summarize the movie for those people who either it's been a long time or they've never seen it, like I hadn't?
Sure. First, I want to say this is the second famous Christmas movie by the director Bob Clark, who most people may know from doing a little movie called A Christmas Story, which is, occasionally shown on television around Christmas time. Sometimes, Yeah, every so
often.
Hard
to find, really.
Yeah. So basically, this centers around a sorority house. It's Christmas time, obviously. The girls have a little problem. They're getting prank calls from somebody who says all kinds of crazy stuff. Sometimes it's obscene. Sometimes it's just plain mental. And then somebody manages to make their way into the sorority, and bad things happen.
Yeah. To put it mildly.
Yeah.
Just some shenanigans.
Mm-hmm. Things you wouldn't want to do on a normal Christmas Eve, I don't think.
No, not at all. Not at all. Perfect summary of this movie, by the way, where it leaves enough of a mystery as to what could possibly happen here.
Yes.
To those who haven't seen it. But you know what? It's been out for 50 years. It didn't get the big, 50th anniversary that Jaws did this year, back in, 2024. But, it definitely is one of those classic movies that really kicked off or inspired everything that came afterwards in terms of slasher movies. It started the formula.
Yeah, definitely a very early example, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Co-eds in danger and being picked off one by one.
Yep. And final girls.
Yeah, oh yeah. And what a cast. I mean, talking about final girls, the final girl in this is Olivia Hussey.
Yeah.
But it also has some other people in it that people would recognize watching for the first time.
Yeah, we've got Lois Lane herself, Margot Kidder. Fantastic role for her. You got Andrea Martin, who's mostly known for her comedic movies and things like that. Who else we got? I think those are probably the three big names. Got John Saxon.
John Saxon. We'll
Dreamy.
talk a little bit more about John Saxon, but I think you and I are on the same wavelength here with how we feel about him. But you see him in a movie, you know he's going to be a cop, he's going to be concerned, and he's going to be woofy. So
yes,
which he is in this. But yeah, so those are your most recognizable actors here, and they all have very interesting roles in this. Olivia Hussey, she's got a good head on her shoulders. She's studying at the university there. This was actually filmed at University of Toronto, but I don't think they really talk about which university it is.
No,
in this, it's a fictional town, fictional university. But she's living in the sorority house with up to, I think they said 12 to 13 other women, and there's a house mother that also lives there as well, and that's Mrs. Mack. And they've just, at the beginning, they're all celebrating their Christmas Eve party before most of the girls head off to go back home for the holidays. But the first real thing that we see in this movie is a view of the house, and then somebody coming into the house. Like, it's all point of view, POV shots, walking around the exterior, and then climbing up the trellis to get into an open window, and then find their way into the attic, where they're able to sort of stay for the rest of the movie, which is kind of surprising. That they set it up right from the beginning. That
absolutely right into it.
There's a creepy character that's going straight in, and no matter what happens on screen, you know he's already there. He's already got access to all of these women, and it doesn't take long for the first victim to happen.
No, poor Claire.
Poor Claire. Poor sweet little Claire. Yeah,
she's the good girl.
She's easily sort of, I wouldn't say offended. She's easily like, oh gosh, blushed, and doesn't really get along with one of the other characters, with Margot Kidder's character, because Margot Kidder is playing a just outspoken, sex positive, kind of sassy, swearing like a sailor, drinking like a sailor. On shore leave, and so they kind of clash a little bit, but I think it's mostly just because personalities don't really align. Yeah, but she goes upstairs from the party to go and pack, and she becomes the first victim, and is seen many times throughout the rest of the movie. They always focus in on her up in the attic. She's right at the window the whole time.
I know.
If anybody,
no one ever notices it.
Nobody sees her face the whole time. She's there in the window, covered in plastic. It adds to the almost inhuman amount of horror that is generated in this. When there's not a lot of again, it's more about the tension. It's more about what's going to happen, who's going to be next, how are they going to? Is anybody going to find out?
Right, and I would say it's not a gory movie by any means. Her death is probably one of the least gory, but at the same time, maybe because they focus on her corpse so much, it's really kind of horrifying. Like, just the fact that she's kind of positioned there and she's sort of like a watcher through the entire movie.
She kind of acts as a proxy for whoever the killer, and we've come to call the killer, over the years, and I think he's named as Billy in the credits. We never really know. We never see his face fully. No. We never find out why. There's no exposition related to how he got there, why he chose this house, what caused his psychosis or his urge to kill. He's just a faceless watcher who takes out the women when he has the opportunity. And oof.
We certainly hear him. We may not see him, but we hear him plenty. For better or worse.
I think that's one of the more successful tools that Bob Clark uses in this movie to kind of ratchet up the tension, is the phone calls, the obscene phone calls. Everything kind of takes place around this phone that's centrally located in the house.
Yes.
There's, whenever something rings, people run for the phone. And I guess it could just be, it's a product of the times. In the 70s, you always had the house phone was always like the main phone. in the central hallway closest to the door. If it rang, you never let it go. Like, you always had to run and go and answer it. And they do that, and they pick up, and it's Billy screaming on the other end, crying, screaming, making pig noises, all sorts of, horrific things.
I think when he first starts, I shouldn't say that. When we first hear him, which is very early on, it seems to be pretty much strictly an obscene call. He knows he's talking to girls, but very quickly you realize with more phone calls that there's something else going on here. Maybe today we'd call it schizophrenia. I'm not sure. Like, we don't ever find out for sure, but he's clearly doing other voices that are in his head or people he's been around at some point in his life, and they get very, much more manic as the movie goes on.
Throughout this movie, there's a parallel murder that's being investigated. Nobody really knows that Claire is dead at this point. She's just missing. But there is a young girl who was killed on her way home from band practice. And it's happening sort of parallel to the story of what's happening in the house, where people in the town, the police, citizens are searching for this young girl. They find her body. She's been murdered. And throughout the rest of the movie, there's that tension. Oh, someone's been murdered. We need to be safe somehow. The horrible thing is where they tell people just stay in your homes and all this. Well, the home here is the least safe place for these women to be. With the other plot that's going on with the main character, with Olivia Hussey's character, Jess, is her boyfriend, Peter, is becoming increasingly unstable because she reveals to him that she is pregnant and she does not want to have the baby. And she doesn't really love him in the way that he wants. He wants to get married and have her have the baby. And, she can do whatever she wants after she has the baby, but she has to have the baby and get married with him. And, he's got this career as a concert pianist. He'll be doing that, but, she's got to be a mother. And she's like, no, I don't want this. And he becomes very violent at one point. He calls her all sorts of names. He smashes his piano, and you think maybe this Peter could be the killer. Maybe he's the one. Maybe he's sneaking into the house when other people aren't there. And there are times where they play with that. There's that red herring. Where
absolutely.
Yeah, he's hanging out by the trees, kind of staying out of the way. He's there when the police put a cop out front to watch, and the policeman ends up dead afterwards. Is it him? Because we don't know if Billy's leaving the house. Potentially he is, but somebody killed the cop out front. Could have been Peter. All of these are just extra things that Bob Clark and the team who's produced this movie do to make everything more tense. And of course, the final thing that the cops do is they bug the telephone to find out where the calls are coming from. And there's several scenes where they're trying, the guy at Bell Canada is running back and forth between all these massive switch pylons trying to figure it out. And of course they find out towards the end, oh no, the call is coming from inside the house.
That's right.
Mrs. Mack has her own phone line at that same address, and that's what he's been doing. He's been sneaking to Mrs. Mack's room and using the phone. It's
not the first movie to come up with the conceit of the calls are coming inside the house, or even radio dramas, because there were some of those ahead at that time. But yeah, it was definitely a review. I mean, of course, we know as the viewer that that's the case, but then it does increase the police presence. So the whole town's on alert as it is. Yes. Yeah. And some of the other regular cops who aren't always the most intelligent people in the movie.
No, for this kind of film, there is enough humor to kind of release this tension. You've got the house mother. She's a favorite comedic gem in this.
Yes, she's quite she likes her drink, and she's hidden stashes all throughout the house. I sometimes wonder, I don't know whether, I'm kind of curious as to whether maybe the house belonged to her at some point, and she just kind of, because they were talking about, there's all that stuff in the attic, and there's things up there that would not belong to a sorority girl, like a bird cage or a hobby horse, like one of those hobby horses you would ride as a kid. So I almost wonder whether the house was in her family or something, and then it was converted to I don't know. They never really say, as far as I know, but it made me kind of curious.
There's hints that she had more of an adventurous past. She was part of a singing duo, I guess, with her sister. There's hints throughout the house, but she never really talks about herself, and we kind of just have to infer. And I like that they did that, because we don't know anything about these girls except what's being presented.
Right.
We don't know about their past. We don't know how they came there. We don't know about Billy. So everybody's kind of a blank slate and are revealed as the movie progresses. But
yeah, we do learn a little bit through some parental interactions, because, of course, we meet Claire's dad, who becomes a major character because he is supposed to meet her to pick her up to bring her home for the holidays. And, of course, she doesn't meet him because we already know she's been killed. He's a major character, and Margot Kidder's character speaks with her mom on the phone, and you kind of get the idea there's not much love lost there. So I don't know if that's part of her kind of unhappiness, because she's a bit of a drinker herself.
And that is one of the things where Margot's character, she, throughout the film, gets progressively drunker. This takes place over, it starts, I believe, Christmas Eve, and then goes through Christmas Day and Christmas night. So it's really just a 24-hour period that all these things are happening. And she, she's been drinking the night before, but then during the day she's supposed to be, as part of the sorority, they sponsor a needy children toy drive or something, and you see her in the background while Claire's father is on the phone. You see her basically giving a kid beer, just getting sloshed herself during this event with all these children running around. There's an interaction with her and the none too bright police clerk, where she gives the phone number.
The exchange.
The exchange is fellatio. How do you spell that? F-E-L-L. And of course the clerk has no idea. He's just
completely clueless. The poor guy.
Poor guy. I mean, he's none too bright, and he really he does not get any better throughout the film, to everybody's detriment. But yeah, I mean, her character is really fleshed out. Andrea Martin's Phil is kind of she's a little bit more of a sidekick here. But she seems the most relatable. Out of all of them, she just seems to have like the most just normal life, normal interactions with people, and seems like a good friend. And you like her a lot. You don't want her to die, and she's goner. She's a goner as well.
She's very empathetic. She's very she seems to feel badly for the people that are treated badly and things like that. And she's not always approving of Margot Kidder's character, but she is she does find her funny when the time comes. She understands, hey, maybe this isn't the best thing for her to be doing, but she's funny. So and Olivia Hussey, of course, I think gets the most emotional resonance here, because she's struggling with the fact that she knows she does not want the baby. She wants an abortion, but she's having to deal with Peter and his tantrums, and she does not want to put up with that shit, but she also doesn't want to hurt him too much. We'll talk about it, but I'm not changing my mind. Yeah, she's got her ambition. She knows what she wants when she gets out of school and everything, and that does not include probably marriage or definitely not having a baby, at least at that time.
And you root for her.
You do root for her. The only thing I would say is questionable was her timing on telling Peter. Right before his big audition. I'm not sure that was the best idea. Especially when he said he hadn't slept in 4 days or something. Yes, Christmas as well, yeah. But I don't know. Maybe she was afraid she would start showing or something and then it'd be too obvious. I don't know.
So, I mean, plot-wise, we've got all these really great elements here that come together in a very, very effective slasher film. It's a horror. There's an air of mystery to it, because you don't know anything about the motivations of the killer, or where he's coming from, what he's going to do next, and you do start feeling for the victims.
I would say, in some ways, even though we don't know that much about them, I feel like you get more involved with their situation than you would in just a typical 80s slasher. Like, I feel like they didn't just make them sort of just girls to be picked off, who look good or whatever. They seem more like regular girls. Like, granted, some of them are more gorgeous than others, but it's not like a typical something where you go to see boobs and knives and things like that. It's got a little bit more class than that, I think.
Absolutely. In fact, down to the fact that there's only one flash of nudity in this entire film, and it's from a cop's ass after he gets shot by a local for trespassing. I think this film has all those elements, but the inspiration that it turned to, that Bob Clark and the writer of this film, Ray Moore had a couple bits of inspiration that he looked at. The biggest one, obviously, is the babysitter urban legend of the young woman alone in the house with the children, and she keeps getting all these phone calls, and they trace it back to the same house. Yep. But there was also a real life murder that is apparently part of this and kind of inspired the character of Billy, and that was the George Webster murders in Montreal back in the 40s. George was a 14-year-old boy who one day, and the motivations are kind of unclear at this time, but he snapped and ended up beating his mother to death and his brother, sister, and a friend almost to death with a baseball bat. So he was tried and found guilty for the murder, and he was actually institutionalized for life because that was probably the only way to keep him off the street for good.
Right.
And that's kind of where Billy's mentality seems to be. He definitely appears to be a man in shadow, but he regresses a lot in his crank calls, where he changes his voice and he's more like a child, and he's being admonished and in trouble, and somehow Agnes is involved, is either his sister or his mom or something, and she's going to get him in trouble, but she doesn't want to, don't tell Agnes. And then there was also a second set of murders. There was a serial killer in the early 70s called the Lipstick Killer, who... he had three women that he murdered, and would write in lipstick "Stop me" as a taunt to the police. And that the original name of the script, that the title of this film was going to be, was "Stop Me." So that was kind of more of a direct reference. But otherwise, I don't think the murders really share that are depicted here in this film share much more.
You mean he didn't kill anyone with a glass unicorn?
No, that is.
It's
a
very
particular murder.
Yes, it is.
And the fact that it's Margot Kidder, and I was reading a lot of feminist articles about that particular murder because it's very foul. Like, he stabs her to death with a crystal unicorn's horn, and she of course is the most sexually liberated. She's always talking about sex. She's very open, and that kind of here's a man coming and penetrating her chest multiple times with a sharp crystal thing. That's kind of some kind of comment on sexuality and women's ability to be free. But that, I think, is the only murder that resembles that. Everything else is very much a unique death. He doesn't kill the people the same way.
No, and some of them we never, like Phil, we really don't see. We see her body briefly, but we never see how she's killed or anything.
Right, and we don't see the body of the young girl. If the young girl is one of his victims, we don't know. We're never made aware of that. And we do see the police officer outside, but again, is it Peter who potentially killed the police officer? Is it
right?
Because Peter's lurking around, through that time.
And that really comes more into it towards the end.
Oh, yeah. And he ends up losing his life because Jess believes him to be the killer. And she ends up killing him. So, she adds to the body count. And then ends up being sort of closed in the house with the killer still there. And she's alone in her bedroom.
She's sedated as well.
That's scary.
Yeah. Definitely doesn't the movie does not leave you with a good feeling.
It doesn't leave you with that Christmas cheer that you come to expect.
No.
But so there's some other things too with this movie that I thought was pretty interesting. So the filming locations I mentioned, University of Toronto, but that house it actually exists. That house is still there.
Yes.
And the address, because you can go and visit it, probably not go inside. is 6 Clarendon Crescent in Toronto. So look it up if you're ever in Canada and doing a horror tour.
Yeah, that would be very cool.
Because it's a gorgeous house.
It is. It's beautiful.
And the interiors as well. Just beautiful home. I could see
very dark. A lot of dark wood,
yes.
Red, like drapery and things like that. It's a bit gothic inside, I think. It kind of brings that kind of feeling to it.
It plays with that whole idea of like cozy and comforting and holiday colors and the Christmas lights all over the place. Every room, everything has like Christmas lights up or wreaths. And then it's also just dark, gloomy, and terrifying because he's lurking in the shadows, ready to pounce. So pretty wacky stuff. Which
I got to tell you, well, first of all, just a fun little fact. I used to work when I lived in Boston. I worked for the phone company for 9X before they became. It was a New York, New England telephone, and I worked in the annoyance call bureau. And all we did was handle calls from people who were getting phone calls like this. But at the time, it was what was it? Was it Star 69 that people used to use to be able to?
Yeah, Star 69. You can call back.
Yeah, they used things like that to trace the call. So basically, it wasn't done where the guy would run between the stacks and have to do all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it brings back memories of working for the phone company there. It's just a little bit more technologically advanced than it was in 1974.
Absolutely. We kind of take that for granted now, and I think it's really interesting. I haven't watched the remakes. There are 2 remakes to this film. There was one from 2006, 2007, and then another one that just came out in 2019. And again, I haven't watched them, but I'm curious how they're going to do that because the telephone being where it is centrally located in the house and being something that people have to go to answer, that it's really important, where Billy is when the calls are happening and where the other women are in the house when those calls are happening.
The police are constantly saying, you got to keep them on the phone longer. But if you watch the movie, she's never the one that ends the phone call. He's always the one that hangs up. So, I mean,
they want her to
understand that.
To try and have a conversation.
Entertain
with
him, I guess. Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, what are you going to talk about?
Tell me more about Agnes.
I did see the remake in the theater, the original one, and it was good. I enjoyed it. The 2 things I'll say about it is the fun thing is they got Andrea Martin to come back, but now she's the house mom instead of one of the sorority girls. And there's a lot more information about Billy. So in that respect, it's kind of interesting in a way the first one's more effective because you don't know that much and you don't really need to. Right. But if you want to know some more Billy exposition, it's an interesting film. Of course, it's a bit more gory and everything because it's, done much later. But I would say if you're a fan of the first one, you will probably like the remake.
Right. And I did find out there was actually a sequel film that was made by Dave McRae, and you can watch. I believe he does have them up on his own website, but also on YouTube on his channel, where he basically goes back to the original, but 50 years later, and Billy is still out there. Jess survives, and it's her granddaughter, I believe, who is trying to solve the mystery of what happened all those years ago, and encounters Billy in the present. He funded it through Indiegogo. I have it on my list to watch when I have a chance. So it's pretty cool. So you should check that out if you're interested in seeing sort of like a fan's vision of how he saw the story continuing. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. It's a different take on it, right?
Because
exactly.
you're left without an answer. You're left without a real understanding of what happens to Jess. Does she make it?
Correct. And we should state also that no one ever finds out what happens to Claire, because when the movie ends, the police have never searched the attic, and they've never found Mrs. Mack or Claire's bodies. So her dad's last scene in the movie, he still has no idea what's happened to his daughter.
They make a mention because Chris, who's the boyfriend of Claire, who's kind of woofy hockey dude, and who shows up. He helps the women several times throughout the movie with the cops and everything. I think at this point he may believe that Claire could be dead because of what happened.
Yeah.
But again, there's no certainty. We know for a fact that Phil is dead. Margot Kidder's character is dead. Barb. But we don't know anyone else. We don't know who else Billy has killed because they're gone. They just haven't shown up. So,
right.
And they never look for them, so they don't find the bodies.
I would imagine eventually the next residents of the home will eventually find out because there'll be some awful smell coming from the attic. Oh, we should mention Claude, too. Don't forget Claude. Claude is the reason that Mrs. Mack winds up getting killed.
It's true. And interestingly enough, the last time you see Claude the cat is at the end when they're panning across like the different rooms before they go up to the attic. You see the reflection of Claude's eyes underneath the bed. And that's it. But nobody ever seems to care about where he is other than Mrs. Mack, which is too bad. The poor Claude.
And she had the taxi waiting to go and everything outside, and she could have been gone. But she started hearing Claude crying from somewhere, and she went to investigate. And I applaud her for looking after the cat, though, I do.
True, yeah. I mean, you can't leave the cat hanging, but at the same time, not doing that left her hanging.
Yes, exactly. Well said.
By a hook. But yeah, I mean, this film is great. I'm really, really happy that you brought it to me, and I got to watch it to talk about it with you.
Yeah, I'm really glad you liked it because there's no way I could have known whether you would or not.
Being the archetypal slasher film, it lends to all these other movies that came after, like all the copycat movies, but then also all the other schlock that is inspired to be made because they had this. I'm sure Sorority Massacre 2 owes a lot to this movie. So
yes, yeah.
But there was a couple other things that I thought were kind of interesting with this. One of them was the music.
Mm-hmm.
Carl Zitterer was the music director on this, and he did some very interesting things to get the sound that he got.
Yes.
Where he apparently tied forks, combs, and other things to his piano strings so that the sound would warp. And it really does. It's so subtle in the background, but it's enough that it gives you that extra stress. Just watching an empty room at times, or seeing things from Billy's perspective where there's not really anything going on, but like this sound is there.
Yep. I would say the music and sound is a pretty big element of the movie. I mean, you've got Peters, of course, is a pianist. We see his failed audition, and he takes his revenge on the piano, which is the poor victim in this, and that makes a lot of noise. And then you got the carolers at the door, and Christmas music.
Yeah, but also the the sound on the phone. There's a very ASMR kind of maybe anti-ASMR aspect to Billy's voice through a phone, using that kind of the way that things sounded on the other end of a landline, where you have that little extra muffle and then click and plosives and things just sound distinct when that happens.
Yes.
And of course it zooms in on Jess's face, so a lot of times you have Olivia Hussey's voice is also breathy and comes across as muted somehow in the receiver when she's speaking into it. A lot of times the sound around that is silent, so that's all you hear is just her kind of like breathy, exasperated voice, and then his just cacophony on the other end.
Yeah,
it's cool. It is very effective, and I think that they did a smart job for a relatively low budget movie. But also, they got a lot of tax breaks. One of the cool things, and this is why Canada became a go-to place for horror in the 70s, was because Canadian tax breaks were increased to 100% for filmmakers who were making films in Canada with Canadian artists, the tax breaks could go up to 100%. So
that's crazy.
You basically get all of your money back for making a movie in Canada. It's this I think is a classic. It's a classic horror movie in anything, but it's also a classic Canadian horror movie, which I did not know until reading more about this movie.
Oh yeah.
It does explain some of the accents.
I was going to say, you could hear it in some of the, not really extras, but some of the background actors, like in the police station and things like that. You could hear the accent comes through. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Olivia Hussey actually getting to use her own accent.
Yes.
As because she's English.
Yeah, I did kind of wonder how those snowmobiles were running on 2 inches, what looked like 2 inches of snow on the ground when they were going to search for Janice's body. She was the 13-year-old that gets
like,
murdered.
how are they doing that? There's a lot of grass on that ground.
There is a lot of grass.
Just tearing up that park, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought this was fantastic. I think there's a lot to love about this movie, and for people who may not be big fans of gore or realistic gore, like, again, there's not a lot in here. There's not a lot of blood. The camera cuts away most times when there's a murder. Yep. But even in the case of Barb's death, that's probably the most violent. It's through sort of like glass prisms at points, and you do get some splashes of red here and there, but it's not blood everywhere.
No.
I guess it allows them to be a lot more creative with the cinematography when you can cut away, but still also show just enough so that it's implied in a way that you don't feel cheated that you didn't see it. You know something horrible happened.
No, not at all.
And one last thing too. Billy himself is not formally credited, but if you look on IMDb now, there are actually 3 people who are listed as playing Billy. Mm-hmm. Bob Clark, every time you see Billy's shadow, it's Bob Clark, the director. Right. I believe it's Albert J. Dunk, who is the camera operator. All the POV is Albert Dunk. And then the voice on the phone is actually relatively well-known actor Nick Mancuso.
Yeah.
And this was pretty early on in his career, I think, that he got to really put out the range of voices by doing Billy on the phone.
And that's such a big part of the movie, too. I mean, it's very important.
It's hard to say. I know you were telling me that you were watching it with the subtitles on, so you could actually kind of figure out what he was saying.
Yeah. Yeah, because a lot of times it's lost. It is.
Yeah. So
it would have been fun to see in the theater in its time, but, I wasn't into seeing slashers at that age. I had a missed opportunity because one of the first horror conventions I went to, it might have been the first, Margot Kidder was there, and I remember there was at the time I was in the celebrity room, there was nobody at her table, and I had never watched Black Christmas then, and I wish I had, because it would have been really cool to have talked to her and gotten her autograph and all that kind of stuff, but my big one for that one was George Romero. I got to meet him and got his autograph and stuff, but that was a missed one, What are you going to do?
We can make up for it by loving and rewatching these movies again and again.
Yes, spreading the gospel of Black Christmas.
Yes. This is now going to be my family's Christmas movie. Right. We'll all gather around, fireplace going, and turn on Black Christmas. The other Bob Clark movie,
not so much.
We'll watch that afterwards.
Right.
As a palate cleanser.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you so much for bringing this movie to me, and thank you for talking about it.
Glad you loved it.
Yeah, thank you so much. You've just listened to another episode of the Bear Cave of Terror, and if you haven't seen 1974's Black Christmas, or after listening to us, are struck with an irresistible compulsion to watch it again, it is available to stream on Shudder and on BCoT, and it's also available to purchase on most digital platforms or on physical media. And Jay, if listeners would like to get in touch, how would they do that?
Probably the best way is you can reach me or find me as Haunt Cub on not on Instagram, I'm sorry. Yeah, on Instagram. I was thinking of that other platform that people don't talk about so much. You can find me as Haunt Cub on Instagram. Also, I do a little show with 4 other co-hosts called LOSTL, or Life on the Shit List. Because of Apple standards, you can't find it as Life on the Shit List on iTunes. But it is under LOSTL, and it's basically just 5 people of a certain age telling you to get off their lawn. So if you want to check that out, go for it.
Absolutely. I will have that link below as well.
Thank you.
And you can also follow the Bear Cave of Terror on Blue Sky and Instagram at Bear Cave of Terror, or send an email to bearcaveofterror@gmail.com. List of sources will be available in the show notes, and if you'd like to read more about Black Christmas or the independently produced sequel by Dave McRae, please check out the show notes as well. I've been your host, Steve Morey. Good night, and if an inept police clerk calls you and tells you to leave the house, no questions asked, just leave the house. Good night, everyone.
Fellatio. It's a new exchange. FE.
It's a new one on me. How do you spell it?
Capital F E little L LATIO.
Thanks.
Don't mention it.